Hello everybody, if everything is alright, and there is a story behind if everything is alright today, we should be live now. And the story is, it's Sunday evening, 13th of August, and the number 13 might have to do something with that. That almost everything that could go wrong today went wrong. So we have a problem with the computer that's live streaming, so my laptop is over here. And suddenly it decided not to have Ethernet connection anymore, which is essential to live stream because now we're streaming over the Wi-Fi, which normally should be okay, but that signal can drop. I see it's bad now, so I cannot do anything about it. So I'm sorry if you are tuning in now, and if you see a choppy live stream, there is nothing really that I can do about it. I had to reboot my computer, which I forgot to do last time, you know. And when I'm still preparing actually the live stream, we were too late by all things that happened. And actually what happened the last time is that I was forgotten to reboot my PC, my laptop, which probably caused the bad connection. Internet connection, because the laptop has to process a lot because it's receiving signal from the webcam and from my mixing desk here, so that takes up a lot of processor speed, and so I have to reboot it to have a fresh processor, so to say. So I tried to reboot it, but then Windows decided to give a major update, and this was 15 minutes before the live stream. Hello Ashton. So I hope if you see this again that the quality of the stream is okay, because I doubt it a little bit. I check it again. It's still very poor quality, YouTube says, and there is really nothing I can do about that. So that it will be for today. Normally I switch to a Wi-Fi router, which is much faster, but the computer won't connect to that, won't give internet. It's plugged in the Ethernet cable. Every signal upstairs says it's okay, but the computer refuses to give me the Ethernet connection, which is the fast connection. We'll have to do with that. So please let me know if you are here, if the connection is kind of all right or not. And anyway, we'll continue. So today, let me do the introduction as usual. Today, Sunday, the 13th of July, of August 2017. You see, everything is going wrong. We are going to discuss a little bit, or talk a little bit about the w.a.mozart Clavier of Bach, Prelude and Fugue in D minor, E flat major. You know how it goes normally. We tend to stick with one piece, but we'll see how it develops. If this is your first time here on Authentic Sound, you get a notification for this live stream, or you see this video much later and you say, hey, I would like to participate more in live stream events. This is a kind of weird live stream because technically everything goes wrong. What can go wrong? So I don't know what the end result will be. But no better way to stay on top of everything we do than to hit the subscribe button and certainly the bell icon, because that enables the notification system within YouTube, and then you will be notified by mail or by push notification on your mobile phone for future videos, but certainly the live streams. We're going to upgrade that, and this evening today is a real good exercise. I checked my connection, it stays poor, I don't know what's happening. So I just looked to Anya if the video is coming through.
Yes,
yeah. So I diminished the bit rate, which is also technical because through the Wi-Fi it doesn't accept as much as the data flow as with the Ethernet connection. So that's the limitation of a one or two man show, one man, one woman show. That's how we are both, Anya and I are not technically skilled for that. We know a little bit about it, but that's everything. Hello, Mike. Nice to have you here. So while people are tuning in, as usual with the masterclasses, these masterclasses are kind of sponsored financially by my patrons, which is a small growing community next to this of YouTube, and there's a link in the description box if you want to check it out. So people pledge for certain videos, 3 a month actually, and by doing that support the things we are doing here and the projects that we are about to take on. So that's really a great way also to interact with each other. We have every month a video chat with the patrons, which is awesome because we get to know each other a little bit better. And if you have questions or just want to chat a little bit with me about anything, that's the place to do. And so there is a link in the description box. You can go there and visit that Patreon page if you would like to support us for even as little as a cup of coffee a month. It's no joke, it's like that. Hello, Jair Bolsonaro. Thank you. So for people tuning in now, you will probably notice a little bit less quality stream because all the problems we had. And then I'm not talking about what happened this afternoon. We had a kind of bad preparation for this live stream, but maybe that's not what should concern us. Bach is what should concern us today. And if you have questions while I'm talking, I will, of course, look on the chat from time to time. And if I miss something really that I should know, Anya is giving me a signal and giving me a yell that I should watch and listen. So, without further ado, let's head over to the clavichord and maybe start with the Prelude in D minor, which is a wonderful piece. The E flat major is not already on YouTube. It will be on Tuesday because we have recorded that in last recording session. The D minor is a piece that we can talk a lot about. So let's start with that. I just play a few bars for you. So these were not a few bars, there was a whole piece. And in fact, while playing, I was still thinking on the Ethernet connection, and we have, if you would give me just 30 seconds, I will try something, the final thing, just.
But it's fine.
It's, okay, now it says it's fine, yeah. Of course, the most obvious solution to try, we didn't try to plug the Ethernet cable in the main router of our internet provider. That would of course have a direct connection. But
Ashton is asking something.
have you ever thought, asks Ashton, about composing in the Baroque classical style? Your playing is beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, actually, that's a question that's actually a great question that I will, let me switch the microphone, address in 30 seconds, because I could talk about this 30 minutes. I was educated in conservatory back in the 90s and in Amsterdam, which still is one of the major conservatories on early music, and we were really diving into all kinds of playing fingerings in all kinds of styles, fingering, technique, things like that. But even improvisation was not really part of our tasks. And composing, of course, we have harmony and counterpoint, but that's the basic stuff for organists and pianists, you know. And we were not trained as composers, and still today it's changing. Improvisation is more important in the regular education system, as I hear from people, but still composing is something that's separate, and certainly in the early style is something that today is not really in mainstream accepted, which is a pity. So, and I believe in order to become a composer, certainly in that style, or improviser, you need to be educated at a very early age. It's not, and so I kind of miss that. The great thing about doing these things is that we collaborate with people like Kostas Papazaferopoulos. He's a Greek composer, and he is making really mind-blowing music in later 18th century style, with his own personal touch. And we're going to, after this project of July and August, maybe have a month in between, but we're going to start the new project of the 6 easy sonatas that he has written for really educational purposes. And there's a great project coming up. So that's a 2-minute answer on your question. So I hope that that is clear. So I'm not a great improviser, and I'm certainly would not be a great composer. Maybe if I would have lived in those days, I could only have applied to become, let's say, a student of Bach by composing something, because that he was demanding that, and he was only accepting students based on their originality, that what they wrote had something special. So probably that would be my way then, but not in my life today. Okay, back to the Bach. You have seen me talking about, probably or not, there's a video on the one tip on this piece, which is an 80-minute video, and I compare also with some other performances. I'm going to do that more often because I like the format, and some of you explicitly ask me to do that more. We're going to rethink this and take my performance and put it a little bit within the world outside of my little cocoon here. And it's interesting to see, not to say which one is the best. That's not important. That's not interesting even, but just to compare things and see other accents. And so certainly if you go to piano performances, but there were also some harpsichord performances that I found, they were much faster. And this is a piece that you can play faster. It is much has to do with the fact, if you consider the triplets, the 16 triplets, to be kind of figurative, I hope that's correct English, so ornamentational, and so that they are just playing around the chord like that you have. It's actually very simple harmonies. If you say, okay, that's just ornamentation, and the drive of this piece is the quarter note, just common time, and we see the triplets, the 16 triplets, just as ornamentation, then you would increase the tempo, because there would be nothing that would stop you or would let you take the tempo down. since if you start from the, in this case, common time, so just the C, it's no stroke, but that wouldn't change a lot, then you would say it's a four bar structure, that's a time signature, and in common time tempo ordinario, there's around 60 for the quarter note. That's very well documented actually. The tempo decreases by the nature of having more complex harmonies or by having more structural faster note values than 16s. And so if you have one of those, then the tempo goes down. Of course, if the harmony gets more dense, more complex, then the tempo decreases still. If the note value is going way over 16th note, then the tempo decreases also. So it's actually, as you look to this from a different perspective, then you could say, well, the tempo ordinario for the common time for 4 bar structure time signature is just having an emphasis, strong accent on 1 and a strong but weaker accent on 3, and 2 and 4 are just weaker accents. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 in a very natural way. And as long as the note values and certainly the harmony structure supports that structure of the time signature, then you have, of course, you have a fluctuation, but there is a kind of margin. It's only when you have a harmonic density that gives you an accent on a place where the normal common time wouldn't have an accent, then you slow down as much as that you come in a tempo that my late teacher Jacques van Ootmesser used to call an adagio notation, and he's not with us anymore because I really would like to ask him where did he find this? Maybe it was his own way of saying, but it's right what he says. You come in a kind of adagio tempo, adagio notation, even within the same structure. So, hello Glenn, just say hello to some people tuning in. Jordan? Okay, great. You learned, Jordan says he learned the D minor prelude last month. Perfect timing. That's great. So, I know I'm rambling a lot. I'm talking a lot about notation and note value and structural note value and harmony densities, but that's so essential. And in our time today, it's overlooked so much. And it's actually quite a lot written about that. So if we would just assume that the 16 triplets would be only ornamentational, which again is, I don't think that's the case here, but you could say it's a legitimate decision. Then of course you would have a different piece, something like, let's say for 60 for the quarter note. Just so, yeah, and certainly on piano, there was a recording that we listened to together on the video by Richter. That works fine. I mean, that's okay. Andras Schiff was playing it much slower. He gives a lot of other accents. But if you then go, let's take yet another perspective. Try to figure out together what's this piece about. To say what's the effect. What's the emotion? What's the mood? What's Bach? What is Bach one telling here? What story? And you can affect is of course something that's very personal. Some people will say, well, yeah, it's like this. Some other people will say it's to choose D minor to have an effect that is more like G major, and that reminds me of going to later music. You know, I like to compare music of Bach with later 18th century music. There is a strong line of tradition that we today don't have. Since, for instance, if we play these tempi here, like I've played it like this. Something like that, or faster. That's even no match with how music of Mozart or Beethoven is played today. So there is, if we would play Bach according to the tempi that we use for the same notation, kind of similar notation. Music is of course different, but it's kind of similar notation, structure, time signature, that kind of harmony density. If you would use the same tempi that we used in mainstream performances today, that we use for the music of Bach, of Mozart and Beethoven, Haydn, for Bach, then you would start screaming. I mean, that would even double as fast as I'm playing now. So it's interesting to look further. And then I lost my point, what I wanted to say. And the first, I will reconnect with that. Well, I was thinking about something that goes from Beethoven to our time. But anyway, so I think that the effect is something sad, something that's really dramatic. It's huge. This D, the beginning of this D and the bass, it's like fate is knocking on the door. I mean, that's a quote from Chopin's one of his scherzos, where we have this same description by a student of him, by Mikluj, I think. Fate is knocking on the door, but it's kind of here also. So I maybe exaggerate a little bit, but you can do that. And then a combination with accentuation. So I was on the performance I made at the recording maybe a little bit, I could be maybe more pronounced, but that was a choice, and the recording is always something that should, yeah, it's difficult, because are you really explicit in the concert you can do that, it's just a one-time performance. On the recording I sometimes have the feeling that just to level off a little bit, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this piece could very well have this strong accentuation. And now I have time to go here. And suddenly this right hand is telling a story. And that's different than this. Here you have a general mood, you have a kind of motorical emotion, which is something real, it exists. And I'm not saying again that I know how Bach meant this piece to be played. It's what I share with you is how I feel that it could be. So it's just my insight that I give in my thought process. It's nothing more than that. So, but I have the feeling that the right hand here is telling a detailed story, and that happens when you just give the triplets in the right hand a structural meaning that they affect the tempo ordinario of 60 for the quarter note and going down. So. This is really somewhat telling. Here is a reflection on that. Again, increase of tension, relief. And then what is so surprising and makes Bach outstanding music is that there is such a huge contrast. Listen to the beginning. A few bars later we're having this. And then you can start to play also with counter accents. And then, first, it becomes rather difficult music. I remember when I was in conservatory that I was given this piece in piano class in first year or something, because this is typically a piece that's piano class. I mean, that's a really traditional piano school. But it's not considered to be a difficult piece. It's just a kind of exercise for the right hand. And not that pianists don't play it beautiful. That's another question, but that's how it's just given to you. But if you slow down, and you take the right hand really into consideration as a storyteller, then you not only have to make the accents to make sure that you have this, give the feeling to you as an audience of the right structure, but you have to make phrasings, and you start to have to make counter actions, counter melodies, all in one hand. And then this idea of study, which is not so strange, this kind of study, it becomes an all other aspect. It's a study in expressivity, and it's a study in making your right hand doing multiple tasks. And that's, I believe, the meaning of this piece, how it could have been. Now, or left hand like this. And the difficulty then with these counter accents, which are beautiful, is that you lose this and you shouldn't. So the whole piece, throughout the whole piece, you should have this but of course in a variety that never ends. And then the piece becomes very pleasant also to play. It's always there. Here's the climax, of course. So that's something that you can work on your whole life, I think. And then within this pattern, within this approach, so to say, there is an endless amount of possibilities to play. You don't have to give all the accents on the third 16ths. You can just stay a little bit more rigid to the beginning approach, or you can mix both, or you can. It's endless. I never play this piece the same twice, unless for recording, because it's very unhandy if you have to edit out something that you change your mind upon. But it's not really changing your mind, it's just telling that story in the right hand time after time, and there are different solutions for that. Beautiful also here in the left hand, where it comes to a point where it rests, it goes up, and going up in Baroque is always a kind of a cry for attention from what's from God, from the heaven. So, and here actually the answer is coming. It's going up. But how dramatic! And then it's not giving the solution that Bach is asking, because he wants to have this. He wants to have this solution. It's not coming. And it's going to the. Going down, going down, going down, going down. And we will see at the end that is really going up to the instrument with the highest note almost. And it's coming in diminished fifth chords chromatically down. I mean, that's not joyful. That's the most painful way of writing in Baroque style. So that those elements are giving me kind of direction for that compass that's here, that's with all of us musicians. We all have that compass, and we have to develop that constantly. It's no science, it's no math. I mean, there is no written solution, it's a feeling. But that gives to me then a kind of feeling that, yeah, this is really dramatic. No. and then stop so suddenly, and then. And to me as well, it's interesting to share this with you again, because I've recorded this 2 weeks ago and I played this piece for ages now. I've never played it like I've recorded it. And I see that it still develops now. It's so nice. So YouTube is my laboratory, and I was saying that, I don't know where, but every musician should have a YouTube channel just to experiment and to do things that you really believe in, because it's very normal that if you go out and play a concert or share something that you think, van, how is this music played often? And it's not something, if you have had the same thought, I have it too, everybody has it, because we all want a little bit to, not to be questioned. But YouTube is just, you can do it 50 times if you want in a different way, so that's great. And then making a re-recording like we did with the partitas. We'll do the same for the World Temperature Clavier when we finish the first book. Will be some in the course of next year, also for a vinyl and CD project. That's so nice to see how it develops. Now let me give you this diminished. So the solution, how that is, how Bach is treating that, it's wonderful. So he is coming down. And you still C sharp. The bass is just quiet. That's quite dramatic. It's going up, asking for attention from God, from heaven. Then the C sharp, and then this saucer. I don't know the right word in English for that. Can you imagine how painful this is? Hello, Martin. Say hello to you a little bit. Martin. Andre, hello. Nauko. Great to have you, Glenn. Great to have you all here. Oh, taking you from the message in the piece. Then, still you can play a very beautiful performance. That's out of discussion. I mean, I could play this piece in 20 ways. That's something. And that's not because it's me. I mean, there's even not something special to that. You just find a way to make it work. And there's a difficulty in these tempo discussions on certainly later music, Beethoven and Mozart, and also with the tempo videos with Lorenz. I stopped sharing them in the Historical Performance Facebook group because there is no discussion there. I mean, it's just some people ask really to stop sharing that, but what's the point? The difficulty in that is that, of course, in those tempo discussions, it's out of reach, the single beat metronome numbers. That's even for Czerny, what he gives for Bach, it's ridiculous. And so only that is a strong evidence that this double beat theory is working. But even then, like, you can make it work, and that's the difficulty, that's the tricky part. So, but if you play it in a way that is somewhat disconnected to the message, if you feel that, then a slightly increase or decrease in tempo doesn't matter. It won't kill the piece, it won't make it better. If you are somewhere that you're hitting something, it's always something abstract, it's an emotion, it's an affect, it's a mood, then you will see that the slightest increase or decrease from whatever tempo or articulation or phrasing is influencing your message a lot. And that's the area that you want to be in, because then, of course, it gets more difficult because you have to match everything. If you just miss it a little bit, one element, then people will say, I think it's a little bit too slow, or you play too fast. When people start complaining about tempo, they're either not used to that and not yet open to a new approach, or that your tempo is slightly off. But it means also that you're almost there. And then typically you get reactions, and I found a little bit boring, or there you had a little bit like this, all kinds of elements that you say as a musician, but I cannot do anything with that. Most of the time it's your tempo, it's your movement, it was something off. So yeah, a little bit faster, a little bit slower, that can mean a lot of difference. Then we have this Zeufer. I would like to have a good English alternative for what is a Zeuser in English? Tiram, tiram. And the more accentuated that your left hand is here, the better it works. Let's try. Right hand going up, going up. You feel the left hand is kind of catching the right hand in a framework, and the right hand is not liking that because it was free until now. It was just storytelling, and now the right hand is taking that, and it's so beautiful what Bach does. So it's a kind of flattening of everything. And here the right hand tries to escape, but the left hand is just continuing and will catch that right hand again a bar later. Here's the right hand back where it was in the position that the left hand wants to have it. And now comes an extra voice. Up. And don't forget that's tom pom taram. You should hear that. Going up, up and down. I mean, how dramatic can a note be? Suddenly there's nothing anymore. So it's like, yeah, and now? Totally alone. No left hand anymore. It's like it was all a dream. And then comes this chord. That's fascinating. For me, this is such a wonderful piece. And again, honestly, I rediscovered that by preparing it for YouTube, for the recording here for you. That's opened my eyes so much. And maybe it's just a slightly too slow. I don't think so. But maybe it should develop more in the way that I could add a little bit more of drama, in the sense of adding a little bit even more accentuation. Maybe not be afraid of having a kind of real expressive approach, and then the tempo would be no problem anymore. I'm sure of that. So that needs development. And compare this music with a Buxtehude suite or an earlier toccata and fugue by Bach. Also, I mean, this is a totally different world, and that's actually the case. I'm only making for the clavichord that it's the instrument, in my opinion, that guided the composers to develop a new style. It almost has always been like that. So you go to the 19th century. It's Clavier, the organ builder, who developed the French Romantic style by building those organs. And so this music is so much more closer to what Immanuel Bach would go produce later than to the 17th century. So it's pure emotions, drama. It's opera, actually. Yeah. Great. The last bars, yeah. Yeah, Sospiratio, it's I think the official name, but in English. Sigh, like under, yeah. But so difficult to pronounce for me. Sigh. Let's call it a Zeusser. That's the official name. Then. So interesting here, Czerny is giving, oh man, it's already 10:15. So much to, but anyway. When we do the re-recording of the Wohltemperierter Clavier, somewhere next year, I will do masterclasses on the pieces that we left out now.
We have two questions. One of Jordan.
Jordan and John. Hi, John. And Jordan Steffens asked, I talked about the fugue. We're going to talk about it now. Currently learning a Clementi sonata, but the fugue is on my next to learn list. We're going to do that right now. And John asks, Wim, I have a question. Do these masterclasses help you rethink about the music in some cases as you analyze the works in detail? Yes, 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 and 1,000 times yes. I've sometimes get the question, just so much work that goes into YouTube. Yes, that's true. And sometimes I have to rethink myself as well. I mean, obviously. But these masterclasses, these chats with you, sharpen my mind in a way that first, perhaps maybe none of us take the time to do that. Just talk to yourself. I mean, doesn't make sense. You play, you develop a kind of way of performing, but having to explain or to teach whatever you like to say, call it, is on the one hand difficult. I'm doing it not in my mother language, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's not essential. But I sometimes, really often come across things that I rethink things and say, hey, yes, of course. So yes, John, that's a big, big yes. So Jordan asked, my original question was about playing the final chords at the end of the piece. You mean the fugue? You mean, yeah, you talk about this. So let me know if I'm right, and then we're going certainly to cover that. While I'm waiting for that response, just out of curiosity, check the Czerny tempo. It's not here.
No, the prelude.
Oh, the Prelude. And what would you like to know especially about these chords? That would interest me, because let's see, Czerny. So this is in original print. He gives 80 for the quarter note. Let's say 80. What's the 80 here? Dum, dum. So in double beat is this like. Yeah, that's, you could say I've prepared that, but that's not the case. I mean, that happens so often. That's the reason that I contacted Lawrence, that my tempi are often so close to the double beat understanding of that time. So single beat would be, what's 80? That's the quarter note then. So that's... You know what I think sometimes with this metronome thing, that if you hear a lot of Glenn Gould's recordings, he is often really fast. But I think that those people try to play according to the single beat interpretation of Czerny's editions, because let's not forget that the Czerny edition, we today like to play from urtext editions, but the Czerny edition was one of the most important Bach editions, certainly in the 19th century. I mean, Chopin was not playing from the Czerny edition. He had just copied in his own manuscript everything from the Czerny edition, even the metronome numbers. So, and Glenn Gould, I often think that he was trying. Sometimes he plays the double beat. So interesting, because the Appassionata of Beethoven, he has also the E major fugue, I think, at the second book, which is in Czerny's double beat, understanding really slow, but Glenn Gould plays it really slow. And I sometimes think he just missed the tick. He just had it, I don't know, it's just a thought in between. So Jordan, about these last chords, I hear it so differently depending on the recording. Andras Schiff plays them a lot like you, but I struggled a lot with them to end the piece well emotionally. Yeah, so I understand your question, and Schiff is adding to that a really nice kind of improvised kind of coda, arpeggios, and I don't know how he did that. But adding an arpeggio or just a trill is something if you feel that you should do it, you should do it. I mean, there's nothing against that. Bach writes this. But he didn't mean he didn't want you to play like that. I think you can have stronger accord. I certainly would arpeggiate and then prepare the C sharp. Yeah, certainly do that. So don't play as it is written. And if, I don't know, recall if you were preparing this for your examination, so if they say that you should play it as written, you say that I told you not to do it like that. I mean, you can make something out of that like it is written, but if you feel to add something, just add it. So then on the fugue, and if I'm not clear, just let me know. I'm happy to help you. So the fugue, I played again also in that quote-unquote Jacques van Rutmesse adagio tempo, so really in a kind of 8-note structure. And so on. So again, just if we forget everything about notation, if we forget everything about what I was talking about, and just look to just take the perspective of finding out what kind of affect, mood, or emotion that Bach is describing with his fugue theme, then playing it in this adagio notation, which from a distance seen is not what the score is telling us, but it reflects very well what I feel the piece is about. It's really serious. And I remember in piano class often was said, well, if you don't have a long note, then there is nothing anymore. You have to go to the other notes. You have to play over the bar, have this tension bow. And to my feeling, that is so unlike they played in the 18th century. So if you prepare this B flat very well, you can wait forever. It's exactly the opposite. If you are a little bit too early, then the magic is over. Like, then, so this metrical feeling of telling it a lot, sharing it a lot, but I think it's so important, of this circular movement that goes up, slows down, goes down. And once you have that, nothing can go wrong. So that's basically it. So you could also think of playing this piece in quarter notes, like. So that's possible. And there is not really something that I could say, well, here you have harmony-wise or in the notation, in the note value, something that keeps you from maybe at the end. If you play that really faster, then there is so much information that, for me at least as a player, is too much to manage. And you can be sure, if you as a player are not aware of every note, what happens, that your audience is not either. I mean, it's here, it's processed here in the first place, it's produced by your fingers, and if it's clear here, then it will be clearly produced here, and it will be clearly received by whoever's listening to you. So to me, that's way too fast at the end. It's better. Team. You see, I do it here also on the, what is it, the multiple last note, so not the last note, but you. So you can add something like that. What's so mind-blowing in this fugue is the kind of rigid way that Bach is just continuing all voices. Even when he's preparing for a cadence, he's just giving another fugue entrance, like. I mean, here is still finishing like nothing is happening, that fugue theme, and that's so nice. It gives these layers of three voices here, but this three-dimensional layers of polyphony. Right hand theme, but in the other direction. Left hand. Right hand. Not really theme. Soprano. Alt voice. Bass, or for tenor. And now there is one light. It's incredible tonight. So I'm just that's just out of function now. So if you've missed the beginning of the live stream, everything that can go wrong tonight went wrong. So we lost internet connection, Ethernet connection next. We lost my computer was rebooting and Windows update, which could take forever. It's one of the major Windows 10 updates. I said no, don't. But anyway, and now there is an IKEA lamp that's out of function. Okay, so it's 10:30 here in Belgium. The E flat major, you will get it from me later next year while we're recording the World Temperature Clavier on analog tape, release on vinyl and CD, like we're doing now. The partitas, editing of the partitas finished. I only have to glue all the parts together and see how long it is, because I kept a lot of repeats which I liked. I like the proportion of the piece. I know it's not often done to give the second repeat or the second part of a movement, but often you get a kind of special feeling, kind of proportional feeling. But Anja was saying, hey, how many vinyl discs are we going to need then? And I said, I don't care. And she said, I do. No, we're not out. I have to think about this. But 5 discs it will be, and we started with 3, can you imagine? But the partitas are really finishing. We have now the back planning is finished. Anja's almost finished with that, and we're going to share that actually with you one of the coming weeks in the live stream with Anja. So in front of the camera, because we want to give some light and some information about the project, because it's a major project for us. A lot that we could tell about the vinyl box, but that's for other live streams or for other videos. Yeah, Anja, even in the live stream, oh, she withdrew a message. I saw it. Even in the live stream, she was asking me how many vinyl discs I would need. So that's all really exciting. We have a video is almost ready. Actually, it is ready, but I'm thinking if I would need to subtitle it, but it's so much work. And actually you don't need to, because it's a visit to record industries. That's a pressing plant. It's 20 minutes. And of course I'm talking to the guy who's going to do the mastering for the vinyl pressing, because that's a whole special process. And if you walk into that factory, that's the old Sony plant. I think EMI was owning the factory before. So if you buy, for instance, a used album of Michael Jackson, which I think if you're watching now, the chances were really, really small, but they're all pressed. There are millions of discs. And Sony got rid of that in the late 90s, and actually Dutch guy bought the whole place with all the old pressing machines. And now they have 100 men working, co-workers, and they're pressing 50,000 vinyl discs a day. So it's amazing. And if you just walk in such a pressing plant, you want to have a vinyl disc in your hand. You want to listen to it. It's so tangible. It's very special. It's a very expensive project as well. Certainly also with the print of the book. There will be an article written by J.S.Bach, a really extensive, in-depth article. It's about 40 pages of text in A4, so in just a normal format. So then there will be an article by me, why I play the partitas on clavichord, what makes them so special, a little bit about the history of the unfretted clavichord. And we have Shelby Lewis, which is a wonderful trumpet player, and Brock, and modern trumpet player. But he's also a photographer, professionally trained, and he is also an architect. And by accident, we met during the live streams on the partitas, and he said, can I not help you with something? And I said, well, we actually need special artwork for the covers of the vinyl, because we will have a box with everything in it, the vinyl disc, the CDs, and you name it. And he said, yeah, I'm dreaming for a long time to start a project with wood blocks. Then I would design a kind of thing. He was thinking about my hand now, and then he would make a wood block out of it that could be printed, and it's all special procedure, and that would be wonderful. So yeah, and then there is a project with Costas, but his 6 easy sonatas, which are great. They're over here. 100 pages of music. So easy sonatas, I asked him to write that, and he did that almost. So they're progressive in difficulty, and I will share with you next month a lot, and we will have in October a month dedicated on this, because we're going to print this, we're going to edit, publish this. Also a project that Anya's looking to me now, but all things exciting. If you want to support things we're doing, no better way than to go to the Patreon page. Like I see John as a patron, and the great thing about this, if from a certain level of reward level, you get everything for free actually. Like my course that's coming up on basic keyboard techniques will be for September, has been reviewed by over 40 people, which is great, and all positive, which is the more great. That's coming up in September, just talking about basic keyboard techniques. If you're a pianist or harpsichord, clavichord, or even synthesizer player, that's for you, I think. Okay. That's from Bach. Not to Beethoven, but to Kostas Papazaforopoulos. Nice way to end. So, Tanya can give maybe in the chat to close the link to the patrons as well. Just check it out. I thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. The video is going to process, and you can rewatch from, I think you have access because you witnessed the live stream, but in an hour I think it will be on YouTube as a regular video. That will be great. We have another live stream on Thursday with the recording of the E flat minor, and I have to prepare a lot for that because it's holiday. A little bit out of my rhythm, but that's exciting as well. Then the 29th of August, don't forget to watch the live stream then at 8 o'clock Central European time, so it's earlier than today. I will make a link because we have a live stream concert from the Hoxton Chapel, the 16th century chapel that I'm making some videos in front of and some inside. We are having the Bach 1 to 8 playing there for a live audience. There are people coming, staying overnight. We will have a lunch then here. So if you are living not too far from Belgium, just come over, and it would be wonderful to have you in the live stream and share that. Would love to have more than 50 people in the live stream concert. I don't know if that's possible. We'll see. Okay, that was it. Thanks for watching. See, just before I close, that I don't miss anything. Okay, hope I answered Jordan's question and that everything goes well with his examination or his lesson. And don't forget to subscribe, share this live stream on multiple platforms, because that's how YouTube wants us to do, and we see each other. I hope Thursday again, and who knows, even sooner with the next video this week. Thanks and goodbye.